Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you how to create your Fontes and Pinnell phonics lessons for use with Smart Notebooks so your students can use them on the iPad. The first thing I do is I select the lessons my students are going to work on that month by the month-by-month planning guide, which is in the beginning of the book. Then I log online to the F&P online resources that we are showing at the beginning of the year. And once there, I'll go to the lesson. So we're going to work on high frequency words lesson 2. And then here is the all resources file that has all the PDF. It has the letter cards, the pocket chart cards, word cards, and the making words sheet. I select that, and then I'll save it. And I just save it as HF2 in my Fontes and Pinnell Phonics folder. So that was just replacing the one was there because I have already created this lesson. Once I have that done, then I open up Smart Notebook along with the file. So HF2. Now you can see that the PDF is actually bigger than your window screen. So if you do Command and the minus sign, it will shrink it. Now this one had a making worksheet, so that's the first thing I'm going to put into my Smart Notebook file. And I just select the camera from Smart Notebook. And check your options to make sure Capture to a New Page is unchecked so that all the pictures you take will go on the same page. So I select that, and then I'm just going to take a picture. And then you'll see you have to rotate it. You click on it and you'll see the green circle. Then just select it and rotate it. And then you'll also notice that the screen that we can view right now on the computer right here, it's not as big on the iPad, so you have to be careful to make sure you put all the materials your students need so that it's viewable. Otherwise, they can't see it, and I learned that after a few trial and errors. So what I do is I just move their making worksheet activity up so that their name isn't there because you'll know who it is. I make it just a hair bigger, and then I'm just going to lock this into place. And now there's 5 words in this lesson that the students will be doing. So the next thing I did was I just take a picture of one of the spaces, and then I just move it down so that there's a 5th space so I don't have to have a second page for the students to do. And then just move it into place and lock that one. Now you're ready to start putting the other things on there. So what I do is I go back up to the top, and these are the letter cards that the students will use. And so I just take a picture of each letter card. And you might think, well, this is going to take quite a while to take a picture of each of these little cards, or if it happens to be a lot of like picture cards. It does take some time, but when I thought about when I was sending these all over to the copy center, getting copied, and then I would spend my weekend cutting them, sorting them. For 1 week's worth of lessons for Fontes and Pinnell, when I would do it, I guess, the old-fashioned way by sending in and getting copied on paper, it took me about 3 hours to do 1 week. Creating my Fontes and Pinnell lessons in Smart Notebook with taking pictures of the cards and saving the files, it took me about 1 hour to create an entire month's lesson. Now, granted, I use Smart Notebook a lot, so it's very familiar to me, but I think overall it will go much faster. So I took pictures of all those cards, and then what I do is I just arrange them in the make column. Of course, I'm not going to put them in order because this part of the lesson is for the students to make the words. And you don't, you could also change this, like with many of my students, I could just have all the letter cards grouped down here, again, making sure it's still visible on the iPad app. But for this, I'm just moving them into there. So then once I have that done, then I need to go back to the PDF file. Now these are the teacher cards that I would send over to the copy center to get copied. Otherwise, I do the same thing with the actual word cards. I just take pictures of them. So I have all the pictures taken. These I do just put in a pile, and I'll just put them over here in the right area where they would write the words. And then that lesson is done. Oh, make sure you do select all these things and you lock them so they're just allowed to be moved. And then I save it in my Dropbox in a folder, Phonics and Pinnell Smartboard. HF2, and I'm just going to put test behind this. And then it's saved. Now to get that to my students, I am switching over to using Shobi now instead of Schoology. I have found, like I said last week, that Shobi is just easier to use. So now I created the folder Phonics and Pinnell. I have to have my students or I enter the class code into their iPad account for Shobi, which is the FDYGM, and I haven't done that yet, so that's something I'll have to do before I send students their activities. So I'm just going to create a new assignment, and I just label HF2 in Phonics and Pinnell, select a due date. It'll be this week, so they would just do it and save. Now I have to add the file, so I go into HF2, over to Add File, and I select the HF2 test that I just created, and it's loading. So now I'm going to show you what it looks like when students would complete this on their iPad. So let me get my iPad connected. So now we're ready for what the iPad version looks like. So students would first go into their Shobi. And now this is my student account that I use to show students. They would select Phonics and Pinnell and then HF2, and then they're going to open it. Now it's going to come up where nothing is up, so they're going to have to select the share arrow and open in. And then if they scroll, they'll see they have their option of Smart Notebook. So now it's opening up in the Smart Notebook. And here's the lesson. Now you would see this is their iPad screen. If I had not moved up the Making Word page and still left name down, you would see how the bottom part here would be cut off. So again, that's just trial and error as you complete these. So now I would give the directions to students basically the same as I would if I was handing them, you know, the Making Words sheet with the magnetic letters or word cards and letter cards and plastic baggies that they have to match the word card to the letters. So there's can. They have to arrange the letters C and A to make can, and then they're going to use their writing tool to write can. And then they would go back. Make sure you tell your students they have to navigate between the arrow down here when they want to move something and the writing tool. And then again, we're just going to, you know, move their cards. I've seen students do one word all the way across. Otherwise, they take care of moving the cards to the right place. Then they take care of arranging the letters the way they're supposed to be, then writing. Now, before I would have students complete a lesson in Smart Notebook, I would make sure you gave them time just to experiment in Smart Notebook and teach them the tools. I taught my students the arrow and the writing tool and the eraser. I haven't let them work in any of the other areas yet because they technically don't need those, and it would just be more plain. So when my students are completing this, I'm walking around and checking, so I don't have them sending anything back to me. I would do a lesson on that at a different time if people are interested in having their students submit work back to them. So this is how to create your Fontes and Pinnell phonics lessons in Smart Notebook. I have found it much more valuable, so hopefully Smart Notebook will be coming for everyone next year. You can get a jump start and start creating these lessons and experiment with them on your iPad. So good luck. Have fun.